I've observed, because I've been doing this 20 years, that retirees like to do their own nesting as well. And so what does that look like? If you've got a car and maybe it's 7 or 8 years old, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if like retirement car was all brand new. People, for whatever reason, need all new windows in their home. They want to get that deck done. They want to get the siding redone. And so sometimes, in addition to just the normal month-to-month budgetary changes, there can be some big capital expenditures, whether it's fixes around the house or just a celebratory trip. And that oftentimes doesn't get baked into the plan until you're in the middle of it, and that could be somewhat chaotic and disruptive.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're talking about 3 hard truths for your first year of retirement. Welcome to another episode of Saturday State of Mind. My name is Jess Panica. I'm joined by my husband, Mike.
Hard truths today. Is that what we're doing?
I just like to hit him up with the cold, hard facts, Mike.
Yeah, let's hit them.
All right.
It's important. It's the things that sometimes that are in your blind spot that have the biggest impact and that really just sneak up and get you.
All right. Well, here it is, because hopefully retirement is a very long, happy road. But that first year, it's like the first year of any new relationship. We're trying to figure it out. And fact number 1 is that spending can be quite chaotic in the first year of retirement.
It can be absolutely all over the place. Retirement is a really big change. So there's going to be changes.
I've never done this before.
So people start to realize oh, I'm spending less money on gas, but more money on healthcare or hobbies, right? And so you can't really necessarily plan in advance with any kind of real accuracy how much money you're going to need month to month to get you through retirement when you've never been retired. You'll have an idea, but there's going to be margin for error.
Well, your day-to-day looks completely different, right? I was working. Now I have this free time. So in the beginning, I'm sure it feels very much like a vacation. I don't got to go work. I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to have a couple extra drinks and some snackies. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds very unhealthy, Jess, your retirement.
This is what happens when we go away for a week of vacation. And by the end of the 7th day, I'm like, oh my God, get me back to routine and reality. That's kind of like what it is your first year in retirement.
And it's all over the map. Some people will spend more money on dining out because that's what they want to do. Others will spend far less money on their grocery bill because they're making home cooked meals and they're doing less dining out, whatever the deal might be there. Plus, there's another angle to this that I think sometimes goes totally underexplored, which is the idea that, and maybe we should come up with our own word for it, but there is a version of nesting that happens in retirement. So Jess, you'll recall, of course, and it's been a while because our oldest is a teenager now, but when you were pregnant for the first time, it was this house is filthy. We had to rip up all the carpets and spray bleach everywhere, right? Make sure that everything was freshly painted.
You make it sound like it was a crime scene.
It kind of was. It was all this plastic and tarp and taking things out and moving stuff in. Had to be all brand new, right? Because we just wanted the best setup for that little guy that was on the way, right?
Can you low nest?
Makes sense. I've observed, because I've been doing this 20 years, that retirees like to do their own nesting as well. And so what does that look like? If you've got a car and maybe it's 7 or 8 years old, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if my retirement car was all brand new. People, for whatever reason, need all new windows in their home. They want to get that deck done. They want to get the siding redone, whatever it is. And so sometimes, in addition to just the normal month-to-month budgetary changes, there can be some big capital expenditures, whether it's fixes around the house or just a celebratory trip. And that oftentimes doesn't get baked into the plan until you're in the middle of it. And that could be somewhat chaotic and disruptive.
Well, I think it makes sense because you're waking up every day, walking around the house being oh my God, what's going on over there? And have you seen the deck lately? Because you have more time to focus on this stuff. But then I think what happens is maybe right away you got the spending and then all of a sudden you step back and look at the checking account going, okay, wait a second here. Let's get this more in tune with how this is going to be forever on.
Absolutely. So what I would tell everybody here is that your first year in retirement, it doesn't have to be done with any kind of absolute accuracy. Expect to explore a little bit and to feel things out as you go.
I think truth number 2, and it should be no surprise because of what we talked about, how things are a little chaotic, anxiety can increase the first year of retirement.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
Well, it's understandable, right? Because you're used to spending money that you get. It's new money every couple of weeks. You get a paycheck. So there's new money and it goes
adding into the bank account.
So money goes in and then money goes out. And money still comes in. It's just not the same because once you're retired, Social Security is only replacing about a third of your working paycheck. And if you don't have a pension, then the rest of what you're accustomed to spending is going to come out of your behind, your piggy bank, however you want to think of it. And that changes everything behavior wise, because every cup of coffee, every trip that you book, even every bill that you pay, it just hurts that much more because it's coming out of something finite, right? Your paycheck, it just feels like, oh, I get new money every couple weeks. And now it's like, no, I'm not getting that. I'm getting this much smaller check from the government. The rest is on me. And every time I cut a check, what's the market done the last month? Oh, it hasn't grown. Ugh, like that hurts just the more because it feels again like you're taking from that finite piggy bank.
Sure, that makes sense. And I think the frequency probably changes too. You might be used to getting paid bi-weekly or maybe even every week. And now you're getting like one deposit for a smaller amount every month. And that could be scary for a lot of people. Truth number 3, confidence beats optimization.
I actually love this one, Jess, because I think a lot of people, and it depends on what your profession is, okay? If you've got like a math or an engineer's background, optimization is a pretty big deal. These are people who like to shop rates, like what kind of bank is going to give me the highest rate of return on my cash. They look at their portfolio, or my fees minimized, is my return maximized, am I minding my risk? So they look for every opportunity to maximize what it is that they're doing, right? But sometimes in the act of maximizing, you're either inflicting upon yourself a lot of work, which can sometimes be a lot of stress. I remember that back in the day, there was a woman I met who every time a bank offered even just like a 10th or 100th percent of a rate of return better on their savings account, would move all their money from one bank to another. And
paperwork, man.
And this was before like the internet was like really up and running and really good at doing this stuff from like the comfort of your own couch. And one of the comments is that you're spending your weekends shuffling money around for optimization, but at the end of the year, how much more interest are you actually getting? Like $50, $100, even if it's $1,000, how many Saturdays did you spend focused on this? The other part too, when I say stress is, yeah, you want to optimize your money over the long haul, especially for like either when you're like 80 or 90 or for the benefit of your kids if you pass away. If you want like this big nest egg to just keep snowballing and getting bigger, well, then you can take more risk with your money because more risk generally means more reward. But that can also really like take a toll on you emotionally. Like when the market goes down, there can be sleepless nights, there could be consternation, you could be canceling trips. So oftentimes I tell the people that we work with, we sometimes lovingly call them or describe them as like the millionaire next door. You've kind of earned the right to invest more so to support confidence than optimization. So just the other week, somebody says to me, Mike, how much should I have put aside for emergencies? And I was like, well, usually it's about one-time spending. So, for them, I don't know, it was maybe like 100,000 or something like that. And the husband just has this look on his face and you could tell like 100,000 doesn't seem like enough. And so I said to him, well, what if we were to put a $250,000 into that particular position? And he starts to visibly relax, but his wife goes to jump all over and be like, that's too much cash. Right now interest rates are falling. We're only getting like 3% on that money. We could get way higher if we invest it. And so they start to go at each other's throats as couples will do. And I said, hey guys, let's just look at the numbers both ways. What if we do it her way? What if we do it his way? His way is definitely a little bit more conservative, but in being conservative, that's what's going to give him confidence. It's going to make him
peace of mind,
peace of mind, sleep better, whatever.
Right.
So we ran it and we saw that, yeah, it would work his way too. She still had a problem with it. This isn't optimal. So I said, here's the deal, right? How much is it going to bother him if we go the more aggressive route, the more optimal route? And he's like, it's going to bother me plenty. And I said, you have to understand that as an advisor, sometimes I have to ask people very distinctly to be uncomfortable. If you haven't saved enough, you might need to work longer. If you haven't saved enough, you might have to invite more risk so that your money can grow a little bit more to offset longevity or inflation. Sometimes we have to make really uncomfortable decisions. Sometimes though, if you've saved enough, if you've made a lot of good decisions, if you've sacrificed over the years, you can actually do the opposite. And instead of having to do a lot of uncomfortable things, do things that are more comfortable, even though they're not optimal.
Sure.
So having more cash for them wasn't optimal, but it would help him relax. And I think that's so important because stress is a killer. If that man had a heart attack, right, the death certificate would say heart attack. But if you asked like later, Why did he have a heart attack? It could be stress. And if we stressed him out in the pursuit of doing something optimal, as opposed to something that was actually just going to help him relax and stay on track and stick with his plan, then I don't think that would have been a very good plan.
Right. And I think what's tricky about that is you can calculate out, okay, well, what's the potential rate of return that you're going to miss by not investing in this? But you can't calculate out what I like to call is sleep insurance, what helps you sleep better
100%.
at night, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it all comes down to there. So, all right. Well, these are the 3 hard truths about your first year of retirement. If this was helpful to you, hit the subscribe button there and tune into our video of the biggest mistake in retirement that nobody talks about. We'll see you next time.